Good morning, everybody. My name is Corey Cortez. Thank you all for joining us today. Today we're going to talk through the March 2020 Fiscal release. We have gone live last week. So far it seems to be successful, and then we're going to give, this is the content that we're sharing today is very similar to the content that we showed a few weeks ago, and this is going to be an opportunity to ask any questions about the functionality that you've been seeing in production now that it's been live about a week. I wanted to give everyone a heads up. There is some of the news around with the virus going around. So Fiscal is currently looking at how we're going to proceed. But I wanted to let everyone know that because of the nature of these town halls, we will continue with having the town halls to make sure that all department end users get the information they need. All right. So since we've gone live last week, all of the functionality that we're going to discuss today is available in Fiscal. And then hopefully, I wanted to let everyone know that the presentation today does contain content from our Department Change Impact Workshop. That's the presentation that we had prior. It also is going to have some of the content that was shared in our change discussion task, as well as some of the communication content that was sent out for our Go Live Com. So here you'll see that we have the March 2020 release infographic. This shows a high-level overview of what's changed. Big changes for March was around the SCO Legacy Transactions Interface. And so just short GL108. That's the interface that keeps SCO at Legacy and Fiscal in sync. And then we've also had some Architecture Revolving Fund transfers functionality that's come into Fiscal. So at a high level, two new transaction requests that's TC39 and TC41, are now interfacing to Fiscal from SCO Legacy. And so what that means is that direct transfers that are initiated outside of the Fiscal direct transfer process are now recorded in Fiscal's GL journals. So there's no need to record catch-up transactions, which you might have been doing in the past. For either the TC39 direct transfers or the TC39 no warrant claims. However, you may need to do reclassification depending on your department's business process. And just as every other transaction request that comes in through the SCO Legacy Transactions Interface, they will be captured on the existing GL108 queries. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a little bit. And you will continue to receive all of the same queries that you received today as far as the SCO JEs, or all the same information from SCO that you did today. That's the SCO JEs you might receive as paper or through your email, or on the agency reconciliation report, or whatever else you may receive. So as a summary, especially since now that we're completing with March, we're going to be moving into July release content. We have a July release kickoff for cash validation and cash validation appropriation control on April 1st. So that's not a joke. We'll be going a little bit into a high level of what's coming, and then a little deeper level for CVCVAC. But for today, what's changed is just the TC39, and that's for the direct transfers that are initiated outside of the Fiscal direct transfer process. So that's going to ignore some things that are initiated by the Fiscal direct transfer process that'll come in July, and then the no warrant claims and the TC41 ARF transfers. So if you look to your left, you'll see all of the things that are already live, and that includes TC23-24 budget journals, TC30, those remittances to SCO, TC35-38. A lot of that's happening in the AR module directly when you get the SCO approvals and the interfaces that happen. There's also some on the outbound side, especially when you talk about GL journals. So anything that's going to go and get SCO approval, that's coming from Fiscal to SCO Legacy. So those would be outbound. The difference between inbound is SCO Legacy to Fiscal, and outbound is Fiscal to SCO Legacy. All right, so to get into more about what it means to have a direct transfer that's initiated by the Fiscal direct transfer process. Currently, only FGS, so document ID that start with FGS, and that is just DGS really. Transact in the Fiscal direct transfer process, but there are a few other departments, OES, CHP, SFM, SPB, that are planned to also transact as part of the Fiscal direct transfer process, do their direct transfers that way. And the goal would be to get them by July, and they will have these new document IDs, which are different than their document IDs today. That's FOE, FHP, FFM, and FPB, that they are not live yet. So right now, this really only pertains to FGS for DGS. So as I said before, no more need for catch-up for TC39s and DC41s. It's going to be at your department's discretion about how to reclassify these interface GL journals, if you're going to reclassify them GL to GL, GL to AR, GL to AP, depending on the type of transaction, or if you need to reclassify them at all. Some departments don't need that lower level detail on their chart fields. And just so everyone's aware, reclassification is the process to add department chart fields that are not available in SCO Legacy to a transaction. So SCO Legacy will come in with those header level chart fields, but SCO Legacy does not have the department detailed chart fields. So you just need to reverse out the original and then put your reclassifying entry in so it's the same as the original, but has all of the detailed chart fields. That typically has to take lines in order to do that. And then to help you with your reclassification and your reconciliation overall, there's two of these queries that have been provided. And then how are we doing on questions? Okay. Before I get too deep into the query, I'd like to take some questions.
The first question is related to direct transfers, asking about Cal HR and PIA.
So my understanding is at this time, Cal HR and PIA are not using the Fiscal direct transfer process. They are using the previous direct transfer process, so let's call it the legacy direct transfer process, using the TC39 transaction request form, sending it into SCO. Those are going to interface. They are interfacing today as part of the March release. And we have Anthony Trong from SCO here. Anthony, can you give me more details on that?
Yes, Corey, you're correct. So for PIA and SPB, those DTs will be interfaced to Fiscal the same day that they post in Legacy.
And then for SPB, the goal of SPB and Cal HR is to move on to the Fiscal direct transfer process by July. So that is an effort they're undertaking. And when they do, you'll no longer need to reclassify those entries. Another question?
The next question is, FGS currently is entered in the AP module. Going forward, is it going to be entered as GL?
There is no change to the Fiscal direct transfer process as part of the March release, so that all of the FGS and in the future, the ones in the right column of the screen, those will be creating an AP voucher for your department as part of the Fiscal direct transfer process. There's no change to that. So that's still going to happen. That happens right now with DGS transactions under the document ID FGS. In the future, it will happen with OES's transactions, CHP, SFM, SPB, when they do move on to the Fiscal direct transfer process.
And I'd just like to add something to what Corey just said. Can you go back to the previous slide? Yeah. So for the July release, we do see TC39s coming inbound for the DTs that are initiated in Fiscal, such as the FGS transfers. So what that's doing actually is it's going to interface GL journal, kind of placeholder GL journals to record those DTs the same day that they post in Legacy. But those are automatically going to be reversed out when the vouchers are posted in Fiscal, the existing vouchers, I should say. So the whole point of that is to keep SCO Legacy and Fiscal in sync when there are voucher build errors, for example. But as soon as the voucher is posted, the GL journal will automatically be reversed out.
Yeah, since those transactions are being built with the departmental chart fields in the AP module, we're not really seeing a need to do reclassification there, even when the reversals come in July. Any more questions? All right. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to answer them at any time, or feel free to ask them at any time, and then we'll give you guys some answers. All right. So as I was saying before, we're going to continue to provide you queries to help with your reconciliation and reclassification. All of the TCs that have gone live, that's both for TC39 and TC41, should be visible on these queries. And so the first query is the posted SCO Legacy GL Journals query. So that's ZZ underscore SCO underscore GL108 underscore transactions. That query is going to have everything that comes in through the interface, and that's going to help you reconcile with SCO Legacy. And you can compare that to your agency reconciliation report to make sure everything has been interfaced and is visible in both systems. And then you'll see here on the right, you'll see if it's posted or valid, and you'll see kind of what the status of the transaction is in Fiscal. The second query we have for you is the reclassification query. That's ZZ underscore SCO underscore GL108 underscore reclass underscore tool. And so that's a tool for use with the GL journal spreadsheet upload to aid in reclassification. So that way you can copy paste that over and do your reclassification entries. It'll all be populated for you. If you need additional assistance on that, we do have some support. But I'll get into a little bit later. All right, so that's the GL108 interface. Pause for questions. All right, so we don't have any more questions on there. We'll go into the Architecture Revolving Fund transfers and Fiscal. That's ARF transfers. We do have a new ARF page for you that is available. ARF is not a high transaction event, so we may not have seen any come in and be entered yet, but they are going to be in Fiscal. And I wanted to be very clear here that this is only for the TC41 process through SCO Legacy. You know, I've heard some departments say that they have ARFs that are kind of a different process or not through DGS. This is not necessarily going to affect those. If you have some concerns around it affecting you, I'd like you to reach out to the Fiscal Service Center at fiscal.ca.gov. So that's the FSC. So that way we can make sure that we're all on the same page and you know what the impacts of this change are to you. At a high level, vouchers similar to direct transfer are going to be created using Fiscal values provided on the ARF form. And then for DGS, the return of, any type of return of funds. So if you are getting money sent back to you, a deposit will be created for your department, and that'll automatically be entered as a direct journal payment. And then transfers for outstanding funding agreements made with an older form. So we've got a form that you filled out with your departmental chart fields. If you've used an older form that didn't have that, you may need to reclassify. And so what that means is for these TC41s, you no longer need to do catch-up transactions. The volume, like I said, wasn't very high, but this should alleviate some of that. And then similar to how today with direct transfers, occasionally a voucher build error will occur. We expect that to also be true for ARF. So you'll need to make sure you're monitoring your voucher build process as part of your departmental business process, which I'm sure you are today. And then I wanted to let everyone know that transactions related to Form 22, and that's the accounting entries for prepayment to ARF and reserve for prepaid, are all going to automatically be recorded in Fiscal for you. And so then you'll see here this new page. It's under main menu, Fiscal Processes, Fiscal Extension, AR, Architecture Revolving Fund, ARF Request Form. So this new page is going to be populated by SCO and DGS, and it's going to capture all the Fiscal transaction details relevant to a TC41 ARF transfer. Like I said, at this point in time, I don't believe any of these have been entered yet, as you know, the number of transactions isn't necessarily very big. But when it is entered, when a new ARF form transfer request comes in, it will be entered in here by DGS and SCO. And if your department has one of these available, you'll be able to go in and see it. We are not going to do a conversion of older or prior data, so it's just anything that's ongoing from our March 9th go live date going forward.
So last week, there were a total of 8 TC41s that were posted to Legacy. Those were interfaced into Fiscal, just posting in GL. But we haven't entered in the ARF forms yet. But we will be doing that going all the way back to March 9th. So everything as of the March release will be entered into Fiscal.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Okay. And then to assist you with some of the accounting entries, you can use the new query. And so that's ZZ_ARF_request_forms. And so this query is going to have the same information from the ARF page that's available on the query form. So when that data does get entered, you'll be able to see it here. And then we do recommend that departments go and use this query to review and validate the ARF form chart field values in Fiscal. And then if there is any, so whatever values that were entered in on the paper form, they're going to be entered into Fiscal here, and then you can just double check it. We recommend that to prevent some of those reclassification errors and just make sure that the values that are on the form are what you want them to be. And so if you see any misconceptions or errors on the page, please reach out to the Fiscal Service Center. All right, and so just a quick note, you're going to need to continue to liquidate reserves the same way you did today, and you may need to do reclassification for these. So ARF reclassification may be needed if the transfers are related to Form 220, 221, in the case that Form 220, 221 file did not have the Fiscal values, like I said previously, as well as the AFS 59 return of funds. So those direct journal payments may not have all of the department details that you need. And you also need to manually liquidate reserves for prepaid in GL according to your DHS expense reports, similar to how you do today. And also you'll need to manually liquidate reserves for prepaid if AFS 59 form is related to Form 22. Okay. So we have gone live with our March 9th release. We have our PFA Group 5 and our bond cash transfer Group 2 and 3. Hopefully you know if you're a bond cash transfer department or if you're a PFA Group 5 department. And those will be going live by the end of the month. And then we're going to have our July 1st release. Like I said, we'll have our first kind of kickoff for that on April 1st. So please be on the lookout for that. At a high level, we're going to be talking about CDC VAC and the PFA interface. Those are the big things for July. All right, so for the March release, we do have some new job aids available for you. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to find those job aids. So if you go to fiscal.ca.gov, you can click our job aids link, and then you click the job aids in service now. Okay, so once you've signed in, you'll see all the job aids that are available. We've got 2 new job aids that are available for you now. Okay. We've got job aid 451 and then job aid 452. After you've clicked into them, the job aids are available as attachments on the right. You can download and open those. I'll go ahead and do both. $451 is for reclassification, and then $452 is for ARF. So I won't go through the whole job aid, but I wanted to let you guys know that it is available for you. So for the 451 job aid, this job aid is going to highlight primarily, it's a storage place for a lot of the content that we have shared with you on the SCO Legacy Transactions Interface. So it's got some of the live transaction codes, some that are coming in July 2020, and then there's a few in there that we know won't or do not require reclassification. So you can go in there and just kind of review what that looks like. We've also got kind of what is reclassification and how it compares to reclassification versus a correction. So reclassification is if you need to add in those departmental chart fields, whereas a correction is if one of the appropriation chart fields are incorrect or need to be updated in SCO Legacy as well. So those are different. And then we've got some steps for you to do GL to GL and GL to AR and GL to AP. So I do recommend you guys look at this job aid if you need any assistance with reclassification. It's something that has come up, and so we created this content for you to assist you with your reclassification as you need to do it. The second job aid that we have available for you is the ARF job aid. And so this gives you a pretty high level of, more information about ARF. Specifically, if you go to the SAM 6868, that's the source of truth on the Architecture Revolving Fund transfers that we're discussing. Some background on the release, and then some information on the forms that you need to fill out and what it means to you. So if you do use ARF transfers in your day-to-day, I would say it's a good resource for you to go and review. All right, and then if you need more assistance with Fiscal in general, especially for the GL journal upload, because that is a great tool for reclassification, go to the ServiceNow link for job aid Fiscal 001. It was the first job aid. And then if you need help with reclassification, we do recommend that you guys register for a user support lab. Do we have any questions? All right, looks like we don't have too many questions. It's a quiet day today. Understand that. Okay. It's been about 25-minute session. We had an hour scheduled in the case that we had a lot of questions, but it doesn't look like we have too many. So if you guys have any questions going forward, you guys can contact the Fiscal Service Center. And then we just have some slides from the March 2020 Department Change Impact Workshop from a few weeks ago, if you are interested. But if you have questions going forward, just please contact the Fiscal Service Center at fiscal.servicecenter@fiscal.ca.gov. You'll be able to help you out with anything specific related to this release or the content that we shared today. I'd also say that the job aids Fiscal 451 for reclassification and then job aids 452 for ARF if you do use ARF. They're going to be helpful as well. So it doesn't look like we're getting any more questions. I'm going to say everybody have a nice day and a good week. Happy Monday. Thank you.